is here. One of the founders of our nation made it very clear that Congress had a role that was not simply to pass laws, but to ask questions of the executive. This is what helped to create a powerful three branches of government concept that was imbued in the Constitution, co-equality, so that we wouldn't have a monarch. George Bush has acted in a way that has separated him from the rule of law. Congress must hold him accountable. And to say, well, we have more important things to do. What could be more important than finding out whether or not the President of the United States has committed war crimes, whether or not he's violated United States law and repeatedly violated the Constitution? You look at the price of gasoline today. Does anyone have any idea that the United States invaded Iraq for oil, that there were meetings with the oil companies laying out maps of oil fields in Iraq, that Congress has not been able to get full documentation from the Vice President as to what was said in those meetings? What about the pressures that are being put on the Iraq government right now to try to get it to turn over its sovereignty so that the United States can facilitate the control of Iraq oil for the international corporations? We have to stand up for this country and for its people, and that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to be challenging my colleagues to look at the evidence. And if they look at the evidence, I think that they'll want to do what's right.
And Congressman, you vowed to continue reintroducing your proposal now if it's every 30 days unless action is taken. What your response to those who say that there isn't enough time in the calendar, given everything else that is going to be occurring, the presidential election over the next few months, to even be able to deal with this issue?
George Bush has enough time to bomb Iran on another pretext. He has enough time to continue policies of torture. He has enough time to continue policies of eavesdropping and wiretapping. He has enough time to continue to ignore critical science with respect to global climate change. He has enough time to help facilitate more violations of election law for the 2008 election. We don't have enough time. We can't spend any more time temporizing while the Constitution, the United States laws, international laws, are being shredded.
Dennis Kucinich, you said President Bush is guilty, perhaps, of war crimes, and that's what you want to get to the bottom of. What war crimes?
Well, it's waging illegal war, attacking a civilian population, knocking out the access to electricity and water. The Geneva Conventions and protocols to the Geneva Conventions make it very clear that there are questions that need to be answered by the Judiciary Committee. That's Article 8 of the impeachment resolution points out that the first protocol to the Geneva Convention says that someone who is in civilian command is within the reach of war crimes prosecution if he or she had a direct responsibility for ordering troops or ordering an attack on another nation. If you read the Nuremberg Principles, our president has brought himself within the reach of prosecution for war crimes. And the Congress of the United States should take this responsibility to not just to look into it, but to take action. Because if we don't take action, what would it say to American history if later on, after this president left office, he was brought up by either an international tribunal or by the laws of another country? It's not as though he's going to be able to escape justice.
And the argument that John Conyers made, if you're not impeaching Cheney at the same time, that he could be president?
Well, who says that Dick Cheney should be beyond the reach of impeachment? I mean, I've already introduced that resolution. We know that there was a rapid change of the guard that occurred during the time that Spiro Agnew left office in disgrace, that President Richard Nixon resigned before articles were presented to the House, and the door was open for Gerald Ford to become president. The personality shouldn't matter here. What should matter is whether or not crimes have been committed. And to turn a blind eye to that, to say, well, you know, it's off the table, we've got other things to do, is to unwittingly be an accomplice in this. We have to realize our responsibility here to protect this country from corruption. And it's being, the Constitution and the nation, the national governance is being corrupted by Congress's unwillingness to look into this. What are we afraid of? That we're afraid to look into violations of law by this president.
Finally, Congressman Kucinich, have you announced support for Barack Obama? Will you campaign for him?
I haven't gotten involved in his campaign beyond Iowa, where I told my supporters on the second ballot that they should consider supporting him. You know, I hope to talk to Senator Obama. There's things that that my constituency is very concerned about, and such as trade, Social Security privatization, a true national health care plan, ending the war in Iraq, that I would like to hear personally from him what he has to say.
Before you endorse him?
Pardon?
Before you endorse?
No, absolutely. I mean, this is, you know, this election is an election that is about hope, certainly, but it's about something else, too. It's about shifting away from policies that have destroyed our economy. And I am looking forward to having a conversation with my good friend, Barack Obama, about what he intends to do, about matters relating to NAFTA, about Social Security privatization, about whether or not he's going to be leaving troops in Iraq. I mean, these are all things that I want to know about, you know, before I give a personal endorsement. I've already started to organize for a big Democratic turnout in northern Ohio. So there's just no question I'm out there already doing what needs to be done to make sure that Democrats do well in 2008. But at the same time, I have an obligation to ask questions of Senator Obama, and also to try to get our Judiciary Committee to proceed in its constitutionally mandated role.
I want to thank you very much for joining us. Ohio Congress member Dennis Kucinich has introduced 35 articles of impeachment against President Bush. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. When we come back, we'll be joined by one of the most successful prosecutors in the United States, has won every one of his 21 murder convictions. He is calling for the prosecution of George W. Bush for murder. We'll be joined by Vincent Bugliosi. Stay with us.